to introduce the next speaker, John Romeiser. He's a retired French professor from UT and the official historian of the Veterans Memorial Association. And we're really pleased to have him here. And I should, before I let you speak, I'm sorry, there are a couple announcements I need to make. The first is we are going to cancel our trip down to the memorial since John's going to have loads of pictures, but also because it's too hot. And we thought that that would save everybody a lot of time and trouble, and John could just show us here. And the second thing is to say that at Howard Baker, the doors and bar will open at 5:30, just so that everyone knows. So you've got time to get there when we're done here. Okay, John, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Warren. Appreciate it. Good. In fact, I need to get my little prop here. I will be, it's great to be here with you all. I love this organization, and one of the first things I did once I realized there was something called, what are they, Families of East Tennessee. And I thought, well, look into this, and I found out, now there's somebody from, Tennessee in my family. I lived in Memphis for a number of years, went to graduate school in Nashville at Vanderbilt, found my way over here, and lo and behold, I started working on Ancestry, and I found out I had Quaker relatives that were up in Greene County, Greenville, Tennessee, that had come down through the Appalachians and all that. And they were there before Tennessee became a state. So thanks to this organization, I have that. I don't have the license plate. I've not bought the T-shirt yet. But. And speaking of buying things, Warren, which just called my attention. This book is not on the book I did with Nick on McCall on the memorial. It was not on the display table out there.
I'll have a word with him.
Okay. I will be referring a lot to this book, and it was a labor of love. It was something I became involved with the East Tennessee Veterans Memorial Association, and I'll start the PowerPoint right now, through a friend who became a friend named Bill Felton. I don't know if you ever heard of Bill Felton, but he ran an insurance business here in town, and he was a big patriot. He had served in the Army. And he became the sort of spark that got us thinking about having an actual stone memorial here in Knoxville, because there wasn't anything. So he asked me to come on board. I had taken students to Normandy on a number of occasions. So I had that connection. I was not a Normandy, scholar. In that sense, but I learned a lot by being around those who did know. And so the book basically came together over a period of years, and I'll be referring to different chapters and pictures here as I go forward. And I want to, first of all, if you notice, it's co-written, me with Jack H. McCall Jr. Jack, I don't know how many of you know Nick McCall, who passed away recently. He was very involved with East Tennessee East Tennessee Memorial group, and brilliant guy. He was an attorney for many years at TVA. He retired early, and here is a little tribute to Nick. He just a brilliant guy. He and I worked really well together. I kind of helped lay out the book and the topics that I thought were important, and we would debate that and go back and forth. And he eventually helped me so much because he knew the military side so much better than I did. And he is missed, isn't he? A wonderful guy, passed away in August, way too young. Now, the memorial itself, how many of you actually been to see the memorial? Well, that's great. Oh, wow, good. It'll be there waiting for you when it cools down. That's a tough place to be when it's hot over there. I know what that's like. Have any of you ever done the reading of the names at the memorial? Okay, that's cool. That's great. That's on Memorial Day, and that's a great tradition. We read more than 6,000 names that are on the memorial. Okay, here's just a shot of a memorial at night, very nice. Here, a picture of Bill Felton. Bill actually had gone to Normandy with his wife some years back, and he was just, blown away by the experience. And when he came back here, he's looking around, do we have anything like this in Knoxville? No, and so that's where the seed was planted for this amazing site and memorial. Now, it was, we go on to this right now. These are the ones who were involved in helping to fund it. It didn't fund itself automatically. We had to make some trips to Nashville and speak with some legislators out of Washington. And we went round and round on the site. There were several sites that we looked at, but this one made the most sense because of its sort of centrality. And it's kind of nice because in the summer you've got all those fountains going up and the kids in the park, and it's just a joyous place. And this is a place that people will go over. I've seen them sort of go over and start looking for names. Let me see. Let me go back to this. Let's see. Well, keeps going away. Okay, I'll keep going. I know most of this already. So yeah, and the memorial was built. Really, it was kind of the nexus where it really sort of came together was around 1998 or so, and then by 2008 it was done. It was dedicated, and it's beautiful still. Now, let's see. I think everything I've covered is on there right now. Let me go on to the next slide. Okay, you'll see the names. There are a lot of names on the memorial, and they continue to grow. I've been involved with researching those new names that are brought to my attention as kind of being the historian for ETVMA. I do research, Ancestry, and other sites. And then it's sent on over to the board, East Tennessee Veterans Memorial, for approval. And I think it was 3 or 4 names that were added this year, right, Jolene? There are actually 4 women listed for World War II on the monument, and 15 Medal of Honor recipients. We have been real involved with and especially Jolene knows very well, with the Medal of Honor group and conventions. They were here last in, was it 2022? Now, here are the chapter headings for the book itself. What we wanted to do, and Nick and I went back and forth on this, was we didn't want to make it chronological. I mean, that's just so predictable, start with World War I. And by the way, the decision, several people said, well, why don't you have the earlier conflicts like the Civil War? I said, are you kidding? The Civil War here? So, so we just thought World War I was a suitable place to start. And so we kind of jumped around a little bit. For World War I, we did something on the Great Flu epidemic that killed so many more than were killed in combat. And let's see. So you see the chapter layout. Unfortunately, here, I'll just look around here, it'll be better. Yeah, what I'm going to focus on with you today is, we'll go through most of these, maybe not all, but we're going to focus on World War II because that's what the conference is talking about. Here are pictures of the 14, I should say, because there's another one who was just added, Medal of Honor recipients going back to World War I. And on the memorial we have, each one has a stele, a block of stone where they are remembered. And you may have read about Larry Taylor. Larry Taylor is from around Chattanooga area, increasing valor in Vietnam. You may have read about his story. He passed just this past January. He did get the recognition, and so he's the last name that's been added, and probably that's going to be it, I would think. Just going back very quickly, two names. One you'll recognize probably more than another, but on the left is Kiffin Yates Rockwell, who became a famous World War I pilot that was eventually brought down by a German fighter. He joined the French Army, and he's actually remembered on the Pantheon in Paris, on the walls of those from other countries who helped save France from the Bush, as they call them, the Germans. I'll bet anyone don't recognize who he is? Yeah, yep, there's the airport, and here's McGee Tyson. Exactly. He went down in flames. A plane was shot down over the North Atlantic in World War I. Very dashing fellow. These are other chapter outlines we have for World War I. The Old Hickory 30th Division that is remembered with lots of stories related to it. We have, I was about to focus more on this, but we don't have the time. The horrible sinking of the USS Indianapolis. We're coming up on the 80th anniversary of that. 22 from East Tennessee went down with the ship. What's interesting about them is really kind of a cross-section of cultures and things. On the left, you have Earl Henry, who was a dentist and also the ship's dentist. He also was a very, very well-known ornithologist. Very interesting background on him. He was from Knoxville. Also, Holloway. Let's see if I can get him to come up here. Well, it's not scrolling. This is, if I could just get this thing to come up. Okay. Well, anyway, two officers and here two sailors who were on board the ship. They were from a county way down south, Marion County. It was kind of amazing. There were 4 guys from Marion County who went down with the Indianapolis. Very sad story here. These were twins. Peter Zucchini. We don't have a picture of him. On the right is his sister, Julia, who was a nurse. And his ship was sunk in February of '43, the Dorchester. About a year later, sad, she had been taking care of people at Guadalcanal. I think she was in a mess, and her brother had just gone down, and she actually took her own life at the Naval Air Station in Memphis just a year later in '44. Stories of bombers. Great stories of bombers. Here we've focused on the last 2 U.S. bombers to fall on opposite sides of the world at war. And on the left you have Howard Goodner, who was the pilot of the B-24 Black Cat. He was from Cleveland, Tennessee, shot down over Bavaria. And then on the right we have a plane that went down, not a B-29, but a B, what is that? Well, the B-17 was Goodner. This would be a B, what? 29, okay. It was taken down over Japan. And so those were really the last from East Tennessee planes that were, but they had, passengers, not passengers, but combatants on it from the U.S. I'm going to go through these a little quickly, because we do go chronologically at some point, and we have a section on Korea, we have a section on Vietnam, a very important section on Vietnam. and also more recent conflicts with, in the Middle East. And also we have on the memorial, I don't know if you've had a chance to look it over, but we do have a stele, S-T-E-L-E, that has the names of those who died, but in peacetime, not in wartime. And we must have about, what, maybe 15, 20 names on there?
There's 23 names.
23 names, and we continue to add those when we get information. Okay, I'd like to open up for questions, comments, whatever.
You said there were 4 women and
Yeah.
World War II listed.
Julia Zecchini was one. There was a woman who was a nurse who died of an illness during World War II, and there were 2 others, yeah.
What about other wars? What about Korean or Vietnam?
I don't have any, we don't have any information. No, there was a woman, actually one of them, it was a Vietnam. She died in Iraq or something,
She's a clerk typist.
in Germany,
Yeah, she's
yeah. 3 were World War II and the other one was Vietnam, yeah.
We also have a father-son combination.
That's
and
right.
several pairs of brothers.
Yeah, testers.
The Testers.
Testers, that's quite a story, that's in the book too. Yes,
Is the Memorial Association doing the new Veterans Park across from the,
well, I'm glad you brought that up because Jolene and I were talking. She wanted, first of all, mention that there is a Vietnam memorial next to the memorial at the World's Fair Park, yeah.
there's a new one,
Yes,
veteran memorial across from the cemetery on John's
Correct.
Beard. It's under construction now.
right, it is, but that is a separate project with the Legacy Parks.
Okay. And the way our Vietnam veterans donated money for it.
Yep, exactly, but there is the Vietnam Veterans of America chapter here in Knoxville also erected a memorial down at World's Fair Park,
Right.
just next to the memorial.
Right.
Yeah,
John, if I could
Pat.
add something, you mentioned
Please.
the ceremony on Memorial Day, and how long have you been doing that, Jolene? I've been doing it for years.
Since 2012,
Something like that, yeah.
so over 10 years.
If you've not been there, go. They run from about, what, 6 in the morning?
We start at sunrise.
Yeah, sunrise, usually over by about 11. It is incredibly moving. I'm gonna tell 2 things from there. One, as you're reading, particularly in World War I or World War II, it's broken down by conflict and by county. So you'll be reading the names from like maybe Polk County or, Marion County or some of these smaller counties around. And there'll be 4 or 5 guys with the same last names.
yeah.
And you know that they were all related. And that just tears at you. And I'm gonna close with, I forget what year it was, Jolene, but I was second to last reader. And there was a lady behind me, and they said, when you get to this point, just, give her the high sign and she'll come on up. I said, okay, not a problem. So I get there and, give the high sign, and this different lady steps up. Okay. And I noticed, as she was reading, that her voice would crack every once in a while. And I learned later that they had added several names that year, and one of the names that was added was her son, and she read it that day. That's why I did it. And I have a cousin on that wall too, so I do it in his memory and in all of them. So if you ever get a chance on Memorial Day, go down there.
You don't have to sign up, just show up.
Yeah.
Rain or shine. And some years we'll have 20 volunteers, and they just keep reading, because that's all we have is 20 people. Some years, this year it was beautiful, we had about 150. So we do it, we do a dedication, and then the American Legion Post 2 does their normal Memorial Day ceremony following. So from about 6 a.m. until about noon after Memorial.
Okay, anything else?
Going back, especially like World War I, World War II, do you
Uh-huh.
have any frame of reference for soldiers of color who you've been able to identify, and have you had any challenges trying to identify those?
Oh, you talking about those who were MIA that were later found, their remains were found, or
Records they didn't care to keep.
the what?
Records they didn't care to keep, especially for black soldiers during that time.
Well, it's a good point. We do have some black soldiers who served in World War II on the memorial. I don't think World War I. The records, of course, the World War II records can be very difficult because of the fire, there in Missouri, St. Louis, I guess. I don't, there's so much on Ancestry now, also people will, when they have a name that they want to suggest that should be on the memorial, we have several people researching along with me. One of them is in the Netherlands. She's amazing. And she gets into files and archives I don't know, I've not been able to get into. So we're usually able to, again, we don't have a lot of, Knoxville traditionally over the years not had a large black, or East Tennessee, not a huge black population. So we don't have that many records like that,
If I could throw in, the TSLA, the Tennessee State Library and Archives, has identified at least two guys, because I talked about them, from Middle Tennessee. One of them was from Murray County, and the other one was from, I forget which one. Anyway, but they were killed during World War I, but they were part of the 93rd Division in World War I, which was kind of broken up and put in with the French Army, so records are all scattered all over the place.
I don't think there were any in the 30th. Were there any blacks?
No, when, what's his name, Reese Amos put together Knox County in the World War, there were none.
None. Yeah, I've seen that book. It's beautiful.
Well, there were none included in the book, unless
Okay.
they're in that, there's a whole list of names, that they didn't have pictures for.
Mhm.
But somehow I don't think any of them made it.
Okay.
There was a young lady from UT who did her master's thesis on African-American soldiers in World War I from Knox County. And I had to feel for her, because as I was reading this thing, it was like, she got her topic and she got it approved and she got it narrowed down to where she could write about it, and then she found out there was nothing.
Oh.
So she just had to kind of stitch together stuff. And it's good, but it's not Knox County specific,
I got it.
Y'all, we're running out of time, and I wanted to talk about the Center for the Study of Tennesseans in War at UT before you all drifted away. Right, it's been a long day for you all. I'm the last speaker of the day. I have the toughest job. If this was my classroom, I would move you all in to the center so that those of you on the fringes I don't lose. But I can't force you all to do that because I'm not grading you all, although there will be a test at the end of this. I'm a professor of history at the University of Tennessee. I specialize in early American history. I've written 2 books on the American Revolutionary War, which I guess we did not talk about at this symposium. But certainly British and American relations go far back. I'm so grateful to our veterans, and I'm so grateful to veteran organizations like the East Tennessee Veterans Memorial Association that John was speaking about. And imagine yourselves as retirees. For some of you, that's easier than others. And imagine yourself devoting the rest of your life, as John has done, to telling the stories of veterans. This man spends his time and energy, could be doing lots of different things, but he gets after the stories of Tennesseans and puts those stories on the East Tennessee Veterans Memorial Association's website. I encourage you to check out some of those biographies. They're excellent. And I'm so grateful to know John and be part of this presentation today. Yeah. And I'm thankful to Warren Doctor and East Tennessee History Center for inviting me here. Warren's one of my favorite people. This is one of my favorite places to be. My family and I are members. We come here all the time, love the gift shop.
Thank you, Chris.
Any of you remember Hoskins Library, the original library at UT? I've talked to many people who went to UT back in the day, and they remember going to Hoskins Library to check books out. You can't do that anymore. The Army ROTC is on the first floor, Air Force ROTC is on the second floor, the Andrew Jackson papers are on the second floor, and the Center for the Study of Tennesseans and War is on the second floor of Hoskins Library, the old library on campus. Our mission is to research the lives of Tennesseans who have been involved in wars from 1700 up to the present day. And we do that largely through an internship program. We offer an internship to UT students. This fall we'll have 20 interns. Internship program runs every fall semester. And we get after researching those stories. We preserve those stories both on our website and in a physical archive in Hoskins Library. Encourage you all to check out our website. Special Collections in our library is a fantastic partner, and they collect a lot of the military memorabilia that we've gotten over the decades. The center has existed since 1983. Was founded to get after World War II stories. And some of our collections, we've got extraordinary collections, aerial photos of Hitler's bunker, Nazi war trophies. I mean, you hold some of these things in your hand that say Wehrmacht on it, and you can just, it's palpable. You can feel the evil emanating off of these things. The center's blessed with a large archival collection. This is a screenshot of our website. I've presented here at the center a number of times, and I know the website's, the internet's dodgy, and so I didn't want to have a live feed of our website and not be able to access it to. So I did a screenshot for you all, and you can see that we offer a lot if you want to check it out. If you're a researcher and you're doing serious research, if you're interested in African American stories from past wars, we've got them. Okay? If you're interested in women, we've got them. And we're growing each and every year. Boy, so many stories I could tell, but I don't have time to tell all the stories. I wanted to tell just one to you all. Are you all ready for one story? One East Tennessean who served and fought and died in World War II. I promise you, you are going to remember this man after today. It's my privilege to introduce you all to Private Clifford Edward Keenan. He was born in Humboldt, Tennessee in 1920. His father, Hugh, was an insurance agent and a World War I vet. His mother, Jewel, was a homemaker and an enumerator. Bonus points to anybody in this room who knows what an enumerator does for a living. Yes!
I did it.
She went door to door taking records for the census.
Wow.
She was an enumerator. Clifford Edward had two younger brothers. After 10th grade, Clifford dropped out of school and went to work as a mechanic at an auto body shop in Humboldt. He also took side jobs as an express messenger and a railway mail clerk. During World War II, Keenan was drafted at age 22 on September 28, 1942. We think of the World War II generation as the greatest generation of Americans, and we think of World War II today as a great war. We often forget that there was a draft that conscripted people into military service. Even before Churchill convinced the United States to get involved in World War II, there was a growing belief that the country would eventually be drawn into the conflict. The Selective Training and Service Act of 1940 was the first peacetime draft in United States history, requiring men of age 21 to 45 to register. More than 300,000 Tennesseans served in the armed forces in World War II, and over 5,000 died in the war. 8 Tennesseans received the Congressional Medal of Honor for their services. Once he had been drafted into service in 42, the United States Army told Keenan to report to Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia for basic training. The Army then moved him to Camp Walters in Texas, where this picture was taken in 1943. After Texas, the Army sent him to Fort Benning, Georgia for paratrooper training. It was here in Georgia that Keenan was assigned as a private in the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment in the 82nd Airborne Division. The famous 82nd Airborne Division was initially formed during World War I as an infantry division. It was reactivated in 1942, and at the same time it was redesignated as the very first airborne division in United States history. This was an experiment in modern warfare. They weren't even sure what to call it. The hope was that parachute infantry, military parachutists, or paratroopers could be trained to jump out of airplanes. Hey, there's this new gadget. It's an airplane. Maybe guys could jump out of it and fight. Will they survive? We don't know. Let's try it. Most paratroopers only carried small arms and light weapons. United States military leaders believed paratroopers could quickly deploy in surprise attacks to seize strategic positions behind enemy lines such as airfields, bridges, and major roads. And it's worth stressing that World War II was the first war to witness large-scale paratrooper operations. The 82nd was the first airborne division, and Keenan was right there with them, serving in the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment in the 82nd Airborne Division. Private Keenan first saw action in Operation Husky in 1943. The Allies used a combination of amphibious and airborne troops to invade the island of Sicily as part of a combined campaign to take Italy back from the fascists. Keenan and the 82nd Airborne parachuted behind enemy lines, blocked roads, allowed amphibious forces to land, and they captured 16 machine gun nests in that successful effort in Sicily. Having achieved victory in Sicily, Keenan and the 82nd Airborne Division moved on to their next mission, Operation Avalanche. On September 14, 1943, a group of 2,100 of the 505th, Keenan included, parachuted onto the beaches at Salerno. Over the next 15 days, the 505th pushed inland, liberating Italian towns until they had captured Naples, the boot of Italy. This was the first major European city to fall to the Allied forces, and Private Keenan was there. Following the liberation of Naples, the 82nd proceeded to England and spent some time there preparing for the invasion of Normandy, France. In the military, D-Day is a day on which a combat attack or operation is to be initiated. Best known D-Day we all know is during World War II on June 6, 1944, the day of the Normandy landings, initiating the Western Allied effort to liberate Western Europe from Nazi Germany. D-Day stands as one of the most complex military operations ever performed by man. It is the largest seaborne invasion in history. The operation began the entire liberation of France and the rest of Western Europe, and it laid the foundations of the Allied victory on the Western Front. A 1,200 plane airborne assault preceded an amphibious assault involving more than 5,000 vessels. Nearly 160,000 troops crossed the English Channel on June 6th, and more than 2 million Allied troops were in France by the end of August. And Private Keenan was there. On June 6, 1944, the 505th was instructed to jump at 0300 hours. The 505th began landing across a vast area of northern France. Private Keenan was among some of the very first paratroopers to land. He and his fellow soldiers began liberating French towns from Nazi occupation. Keenan and 46 other paratroopers set up a roadblock outside one of these towns to block German reinforcements. The men were ordered to hold the roadblock at all costs. Around 2 o'clock in the afternoon on June 6, 1944, approximately 250 German soldiers started attacking Keenan and his brothers in arms. Keenan fought with only his rifle and a few grenades at his disposal. Around 9 that night, after 7 hours of continuous fighting, German soldiers began a flank attack on Keenan's position. One of his fellow soldiers heard the sound of machine guns firing on Keenan's position around 9:30 p.m. It was later discovered that Private Keenan was killed in action by Nazi soldiers. He was shot 8 times in the chest, defending that roadblock at all costs. In the days following, a Knoxville newspaper first informed the Keenan family about the invasions of Normandy, France. His family knew nothing about it, learned about it in the newspapers. Clifford's mother, Jewel Keenan, then received an official telegram from the Army informing her of her son's death on August 3rd, 1944. Jewel and Hugh, Clifford's father, had continued to write letters to their son all through June and July, hoping their son was safe during those months. If anyone's interested in learning more about Private Keenan and his family, there are a lot of Keenan papers in our digital archive. Our digital archive has photos, has handwritten letters, has lots of a wide variety, service records, accommodation records. There are a lot of material for researchers. And these archival collections include the very last letter that Keenan wrote home to his family before D-Day. Would you all like to see that letter? There's some things in history, and you go in the archive, there's some things that just make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. This is one of them. This is a picture of Keenan in England in 1944. I think this photo is a nice way to summarize this entire symposium, directly connecting England and Tennessee. Geographically separate, but in no way were they separate during World War II. This photo is this is a photo of the last letter that he wrote home from England to Tennessee on the eve of D-Day. One of our interns transcribed the letter. It reads, "Dear folks, here I am once more, and yes, I don't have very much to say. It seems that I have said that quite often lately. Really, it is the truth. Oh yes, I could say plenty about how we are doing these days, but now wouldn't the enemy like to know the same? So you see, nothing much to write about. Hope no one else has taken the scarlet fever, but I'm afraid that isn't the case. Well, do the best with your patients you can. Before long, maybe I will be able to give you a hand, or maybe I'll be so wild I will just hinder you both. Oh well. Say, Mom, how about doing me a favor? I know you're busy and all that, but how about writing to my mom over this way?" And the soldiers, when they're stationed in England before D-Day, some of them had mothers taking care of them in England, and God bless those women. How about writing to my mom over this way? She does enjoy your letters so much, also the clippings. Hope you didn't mind her reading some of them. Hello to all. And then he gives the address of Mrs. G. Smythe on 18 Clifford Road in Loughborough, England, and says, "Love, son Clifford." And then here is the letter sent to Mr. Keenan granting Private Clifford Keenan a Purple Heart on September 17th, 1944. "Dear Mr. Keenan, at the request of the President, I write to inform you that the Purple Heart has been awarded posthumously to your son, Private Clifford Edward Keenan, Infantry, who sacrificed his life in defense of his country. Little that we can do or say will console you for the death of your loved one. We profoundly appreciate the greatness of your loss, for in a very real sense, the loss suffered by any of us in this battle for our country is a loss shared by all of us. When the medal, which you will shortly receive, reaches you, I want you to know that with it goes my sincerest sympathy and hope that time and the victory of our cause will finally lighten the burden of your grief. Tennesseans answered Churchill's call to arms. They fought against Nazis. They fought against fascists. They risked all costs to achieve victory, and so did their families back home. Thank you for your time.
Let me ask you, do you still
Yes,
have
sir.
that map room in the basement of the old library that has all those captured German maps?
So there's no map room now. What it's been converted to is warehouse space for special collections archival materials. We still have all of those maps. We still have all of the archival collections, but you need to make a special appointment with special collections to see them. Yes, sir.
What's the date of this letter?
This is from 1944?
So before the end of the war.
Yeah, 1944. September 17th, 1944.
Where is he buried?
That's a good question, ma'am.
Gibson County.
Yeah.
Where?
Thank you.
Where?
Gibson County. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that there is a gap between his death and battle and his parents being informed. Why, that seems like a longer time period than is normal. Did they have trouble identifying him?
Not, that was quick for World War II.
Okay.
That was quick for World War II. And not unusual at all for families to learn in newspapers of major military operations. Yeah.
Who's the signature?
Henry's.
Yeah.
Secretary of War.
Well, look, everything points to him being on the memorial, but he's not. He's not listed on the memorial.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think
All
there's
the
a, I think
connections-
there's a lot, there are a lot of people in our area who have served in the armed forces and nobody knows anything about.
Keenan was from West Tennessee.
Yeah, Gibson County.
Even, yeah, but even their families don't know about it.
It's interesting you said a Knoxville newspaper contacted his family,
Yeah,
because he's from.
It was a Knoxville
the other
something.
side of the state.
yeah,
yeah, well, okay, we'll have to get that
yeah.
figured out.
All right, thank you all.